Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nature Cure Summit, where we are driving home the idea that all you need to heal, grow, and thrive can be found in nature, in the universe, and within ourselves, not in a lab. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Sands, and I'm going to be bringing you experts from different healing modalities to really help you discover how you can harness the power of nature for your own best health and healing. So today I'm super excited to have Sheree Clark here from Fork in the Road. So Sheree, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. It's a joy to be here. Thanks, Michelle.
Oh, thank you. So Sheree, I met Sheree at an event, and her energy just kind of flowed out of her, and then I learned a little bit more about what she did. And it's really nice because Sheree actually helps just ordinary people like you and me to really embrace their own health and healing, and she does it in a fun way. So I mean, you can kind of get the idea. Her company is called Fork in the Road. So Sheree, tell us a little bit about what that means and how you play on words there.
Well, I do play on words, Michelle, and I for example, the name of my newsletter is That's Fork and Amazing. And so I do, I play on the words because I really think that our journey should be a fun one, and that it should be joyful and playful along the way. And that doesn't mean I don't take certain things very seriously. Right. But at the end of the day, I think people really, you have more credibility when you can have a little bit of spark of joy. Yeah. And so that's kind of my philosophy, if you will.
Exactly. And, it seems like we take our things so seriously, and there's a lot of stress these days around eating healthy, around, what to do when you get sick, what's the right thing to do. And it's so nice and refreshing that you're not just the nutrition Nazi, you actually have a little bit of fun with it. So I love that. So you are from Iowa, correct?
Well, I'm actually an East Coast girl. I grew up on the East Coast, but I moved out to Iowa in 1980. So I may as well be from here.
Yeah, I say I'm from Vermont now, even though I grew up in New York and then moved to California. Now I'm back in Vermont. But yeah, so we're East Coast girls, so we kind of see on the same page. Yeah. But what's interesting about being there in the heartland, kind of, people aren't as, well, I don't know, maybe they aren't, but the stigma or the stereotype I get is that they're not as interested in nutrition.
Well, I think you've got a good point there. I call this the pork belt. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of farming. It's an agricultural state. Mm-hmm. However, it's conventional farming. So,
oh, okay.
So it's there. I mean, we have organic produce, and that we have farmers markets, and we have those things available to us. Mm-hmm. But the mainstay of the economy is conventional farming. It's also large lot animal production. So it's a different philosophy. Where I went to the University of Vermont. Vermont is an agricultural state. It's a different kind of agriculture. So we can't, so yes, your point is well taken. However, every place we go, we can find like-minded people. It's really a matter of being open to the experience and to putting out those vibes, and to being able to say, I'm going to attract those other people that are here, even if it's only one other person. I'm going to manifest them. So I have been able to find a tribe here in Iowa, and the reach of my company is worldwide. So, but really, here's the other thing. If anybody that's listening is a healer like we are, I think that the place to thrive is places like here. I can make a difference here. There are a lot of people who need what you and I have to offer, more so than in the more, let's call them enlightened places.
But what's really interesting though, so for people listening who are new to the natural health movements, the organic movement, it's really confusing because when you think about whole real food that's growing from the ground and animals that are alive, they're eating, it seems like it's the same thing. When you're thinking about growing corn or growing fruits and vegetables, for a lot of people, what's the difference really between whether it's organic or not organic, as long as you wash it off, right? So can you give us your philosophy on the difference between the conventional and the organic, just for the ordinary listener who may just be confused?
Sure. And but that's the kind of question that I get frequently. I mean, particularly in this environment, because organic fruits and vegetables in many places here, for example, cost more. if you buy them at the store. And so the natural question from an individual would be, why would I pay a premium price for something that I can get cheaper somewhere else? And so, there's a variety of reasons why you would do that or not do that. And there are some times that you may make a decision that doesn't seem like, well, it's not that it's always organic is better.
Mhm.
I'll be frank with you. Sometimes there's a dollar cost analysis. If something is, for example, like an avocado, is $2 organically grown and $1 conventionally grown, I might opt for the conventionally grown one because I'm not sure that the premium is worth 100%.
Right.
But for example, in the example of strawberries, where strawberries are extremely, they're very processed or very chemically laden.
Right. Yeah.
Conventionally grown. It's to sidestep the things that are added to the process. Things that come from the ground in a natural way. If you were to go out and just grow something in fertile soil and it comes from the ground, there's nothing added to it.
Right.
But if you're growing for production, there's the addition of insecticide, fungicide, all of those things. And if you think about the word "aside," and think about aside and other words that have "aside" as an ending, genocide, homicide, suicide.
Not good.
So those are the points that I make when I'm talking to people about the difference between conventional and organic.
That makes a lot of sense. And then there's also the case that the organically grown produce are actually more nutritious because they're grown in more nutrient dense soil. So there's that as well. So yeah, there is a balance, and you're right. It's not everything that needs to be organic. I often refer to the Environmental Working Group's website. There's the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. I send people over there a lot of times, so I'll link that in the notes for this episode. And so you are right now, you're kind of a celebrity in your area. You have a TV show that you do. What's your TV show called?
It's called Fork in the Road.
Fork in the Road. Awesome. So what kind of things do you talk about on your show?
I have actually two presences on television here in the local market. One is a weekly television show. That's Fork in the Road with Sheree Clark. And the beauty of that one is I take all aspects of a healthy lifestyle. So while it's easy for somebody, particularly when you're talking to me with a nutrition background, to think, oh, she's going to talk about food.
Right.
Of the situation is that we are whole beings. And so while we know we should eat more broccoli and more kale and more greens and less Doritos and drink less vodka, the other part of the reality is of being healthy. It has to do with spirituality. It has to do with relationships. It has to do with having a work-life balance and work that you enjoy and feeling all of those things that really contribute to the well-being of the individual. So I do things like I interviewed my own yoga instructor and what his philosophy was about and where does yoga fit into a healthy lifestyle. I interviewed a woman who had had 2 children conventionally, if you will, regular hospital births, and then had the 3rd child differently, and what the difference was like and what she would do differently had she been able to have all of her children in a way now that she's older and more knowledgeable. So it's those kinds of things. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful show. I love doing it. If you're outside of our local market, you can contact me and I can hook you up with episodes of it. Awesome. The other presence that I have on television that I really enjoy is every Thursday I do a segment on our local news show that is healthy living, and it can be whatever I want. So today we talked about Valentine's Day treats and how to avoid buying those big, awful heart-shaped boxes of chocolates. And there are other ways to show love. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because I actually grew up in an Italian family in New York, and that was actually food, like eating a whole bunch of food because your aunt or your grandma made it. That was how you showed love. And so it was really difficult, like growing up, to try to break away from that. And I know a lot of people do deal with that. Either they feel the way that they can give love because their talent might be cooking, might be to give sweet, horrible food, or I mean, it's delicious, right? Everybody loves it. It makes everybody smile, but is it the healthiest thing for them? Or also just to eat with other people are making, whether you're invited over to their house for a holiday or you're at a function, like feeling compelled to be nice and eat that food. So that's actually an interesting take on it. So what was one of the things you might have an example of something you might have offered up instead of the big box of chocolates?
Well, today one of the suggestions that I gave was that you can select a book, for example, for somebody
Oh.
that's appropriate for something that there's an interest to them, or something that's related to your relationship, and spend time to select that. I also made 3 raw desserts. I'm a raw vegan, and so my
Sheree's busy.
sorry about that.
That's
So
right.
I'm a raw vegan, and so the desserts that I gave as examples were raw and vegan, and very fast and very easy. And because they don't use heat, I made the point that children can make those. So you could,
Oh, that's a very interesting take on it, because I do have a lot of moms who are watching, and
yeah.
that's very interesting to think about, like raw vegan food as being something that's actually kid friendly in the kitchen. So I love that idea. I never really thought about that before. So you said you are a raw vegan. Do you eat that way yourself?
Yeah, primarily. And I say to people, I don't have it tattooed any place on my body. So it's not like I don't occasionally have some steamed vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been vegetarian since 1992. So that's a line in the sand for me.
Okay.
I'm what you would refer to as high raw. So
Oh, so what does that mean exactly? People probably don't understand what that means.
So high raw, people who are raw and vegan, everybody understands, I think, for the most part.
Vegan is only vegetable based, yes.
Raw is anything that's not heated to more than 105 degrees and not processed, so nothing packaged, bottle, can, boxed. And then the high raw component of it means that I try to eat that way as much as I can, but if I'm a guest in your home and you made a vegetable stir fry, I'm not going to sit there with an empty plate.
Okay, very good. Okay, I like that. I like that whole philosophy of being a little bit flexible in your life. So I think that can apply to so many different areas in your life.
Absolutely. And that's what we were talking when you were asked about the show. That's my philosophy is, well, that's the way that I eat when I'm home alone and there are no other factors to take into consideration. But community is as important part of food as what's on your plate, and enjoying community with others and making it so that it's enjoyable, not just for me, but for them, so that they don't look at me and feel like, oh, we didn't serve you. Oh, we let you down. Oh, we didn't make something you could eat. Or the other part of it is that they don't feel less than, that they don't feel judged, that they don't feel like, well, she's eating this healthy way, and she's thinking that we're just pagans because we're eating. But it's really a matter of I do good, better, best.
Okay.
So for me is when I can eat exactly the way that I want, and it's fresh and it's organic and it's made myself and blah, 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 blah. And that happens a lot, but it can't happen all the time or I'm going to be alone. A lot.
Right. No, I think that's such a healthy philosophy, like for your brain and your mind, and just for your like happiness and well-being, to be able to have that flexibility with yourself and with others. I think it's definitely a foundation of probably why you are such a happy person. You can see it emanating from you because you're not like so stuck and so afraid to make a little bit of leeway. So I think that's actually a great philosophy that embodies your whole brand and your whole persona.
Thank you. Well, one of the examples that I give to people is I say, I get invited to weddings. And so I'll go to somebody's wedding, but the reason I'm going to the wedding isn't because I think I'm going to get the best meal of my life.
Right.
There's probably going to be some chicken involved.
Yeah, it's either like chicken or beef. You have to check when it's like, I can't check either of them.
Right, exactly. So I eat before I go, and I remind myself that the reason that I'm there is because I love these people, not because I'm there to eat. So then you can go with the proper mindset, and then you don't worry about any of the other things. It doesn't become a thing.
Yes, that makes so much sense. So for people who are listening, and let's say they kind of do have their diet dialed in, like they feel like they eat pretty healthy, but they still feel like they still have more to go on their health journey. What would you say would be like the next step after you're following the, whatever it might be, the paleo diet or the raw vegan diet or the autoimmune diet, and you got that down, but there's still something missing, you know that there's more to go. What do you feel like might be the next step, or a good next step that people can take? Because there's no one next step.
Right. If you don't already do it, I'm a big fan of juicing. And I really like to add, I ask my clients to begin or at least to experiment with adding 16 to 24 ounces of freshly pressed, primarily vegetable juice into their diets every day. And I say primarily vegetable because I don't want people drinking a 32-ounce jar of orange juice.
I think that's where people go wrong with the juicing is they end up having way too much sugar, or they end up hearing juicing and going to a store and buying a carton of orange juice, and that's not the same thing, correct?
Or having a Bloody Mary. That does not count.
I might be guilty of that every once in a while.
Yeah, precisely, but not on a daily basis. So
exactly.
So that would be one thing. The other thing I would say is that what you don't eat is just as important as what you do. So many times what I see is people who have what they would call a traditionally pretty healthy diet, but it includes some things that really are undermining what else they're doing. So elimination or reduction at the very least of processed foods and quickly prepared foods, certainly fast foods and drive-through, anything at the drive-through would be something I would consider putting on the ixnay list. And then packaged things that you could make for yourself. For example, people will tell me, oh, I drink almond milk. It's so much better than dairy. And yes, it is. Right. But if you're buying primarily packaged almond milk and you're buying the sweetened kind, or you're serving your kids the chocolate kind,
right,
you need to really take a really good hard look at yourself and saying, you know, again, it's good, better, best. Exactly. I'm not complaining those packaged stuff, but I'm saying you might be better served to learn how to make your own nut milk. It's really, really easy. It's less expensive, and you have absolute control over what goes in there.
I fully agree. You know, it gets really confusing in those ways for a lot of people. Even, you know, a container of your regular store-bought yogurt that is, you know, with fruit in it tends to have more sugar than a can of soda. And we're giving this to our kids because we think it's the better choice. But really educating yourself and looking at those labels, I think, is super important. And, you know, searching out folks like you or some other people on the internet where there's some great resources to actually learn how to make this stuff yourself and teach your kids to do the same. And it's just so rewarding when you actually do it yourself. And most of the time it tastes better, and you're right, it's less expensive.
Yes, and as you alluded to too, it can become a family affair. For example, like I teach moms how to make fruit leather. Fruit leather is really, really easy to make. And if you make it a party with the kids and they get to decide, well, I'm going to have extra banana in mine, I'm going to have apple. And then all of a sudden now they have an investment in it. They're going to eat it. They've gotten to make it the way that they want to, and now they're starting to understand that is food that we made in the kitchen, not buy at the gas station.
I love that. I mean, I've already started that with my son. He's 22 months old, and like we'll let him wash vegetables in the sink, and he stirs some stuff for us. And he does. You could tell like he's proud of himself when he does it. And he actually enjoys eating it afterwards because like he was part of that. And I think like we kind of got away from that. We're so busy, and like people say they don't have time to cook, and they don't teach their children to cook, and then they grow up to adults who say, I don't know how to cook. And they kind of like, you're setting your kids up for so much success in their life when I think you really get them in the kitchen. And it's not like you have to go out and find an activity to do then. You know, you actually, that will be your activity is, you know, cooking together. And even my husband used to love doing that too. Even before we had our son, we would, you know, find a recipe and make it together. And it really is, cooking is a lot of fun.
It's communal and it's intimate because at the end you take it into your own being in your own body, and it's really truly communion. And another way of expanding that is to teach kids where food comes from. Teach them to garden or do indoor sprouting. You know, teach them how to, like, sunflower sprouts are so easy to make. They're very hearty. They taste good. Kids like them. And if you teach them that, then they understand this is food. It comes from the ground. It's not stuff with like a cartoon character on the front of it. It's like, that's not food.
No, I love that. Yeah, because that's great. Because I like that you brought the sprouting on the counter, because there's some people listening that live in apartments or they live in big cities. And so like gardening's kind of out of the question for them. Although there are some great co-op gardens even in cities nowadays where you can find that and actually get your hands in the soil. But I love the idea of no matter how small, growing something that you can eat is so rewarding. So I want to go back to juicing for a second, because juicing is an interesting concept that many people have heard of, and they might have done once or twice or gone to juice it up the chain and get a juice. So can you give us like the benefits of actually the real way to juice, and then what some of the top benefits are to having that raw vegetable juice in your body?
Okay, so one of the things I tell people is remember that when you're juicing, the difference between juices and smoothies, which is a question I get very often,
right,
that juices have the fiber taken out of the produce. So what's left is the liquid, the watery substance. And it's easy to drink. It's fast to drink. You can use a straw or not use a straw. And if you think about it, it's very, very concentrated nutrition. The fiber, which slows down, that's why we talk about not having high sugar content. The fiber slows down the sugar rush.
Okay.
But the fiber is not present, and so it lets the nutrition come jettisoning into your system.
Right.
I actually, and you might experience this too if you're a juicer, when I drink a big green juice on an empty stomach in the morning, I get a buzz.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And right now I actually I'm having a Organifi, which is a green juice concentrate, for when I just don't have the juicer out or I'm on the go, and I find that to be like incredibly amazing as well. So that's, for those of you who don't know, it's a powdered juice, raw, not highly processed juice beverage. So it's kind of cool. It kind of gives you the benefits without having to actually do it, but I think doing it is also, part of the process, juicing. So you use actual juicer, not a blender, correct?
Correct. I use a juicer. Yep. And what I'm, again, careful about doing is using more vegetables than fruits. Fruits should be viewed as a condiment. There's something to change the flavor, to adjust it. So I like green juices in particular, heavy on the leafy greens, heavy on things like zucchini and cucumber and whatnot. And then if they need sweetening, I might add one apple at a time to adjust the flavor. Okay. I might also add citrus, or I'll add ginger. So I'm adding things with deliberation. I also am mindful not to drink the same juice concoction every single day.
Good idea.
Variety. So some days I might add a beet to my green juice, but I won't add beets every day, and I won't have every day, because you're going to end up having the same nutrition profile day after day, and you need variety in the diet.
Awesome. Oh, I love that tip. So what is your favorite juice recipe? What's your favorite?
Mine is a green lemonade. So this morning I had a blend of cucumber, romaine lettuce, celery, Granny Smith apple, because I don't like it overly sweet. There was lemon in there, and that may have been about it. I am a kitchen sink juicer. If it's looks like I'm not going to be using it, I'll throw it in there. So.
That is awesome. That's another great way to use up those vegetables that you just didn't get around to cooking. So I love that.
Yep.
So Sheree, tell me a little bit about the life coaching aspect of your brand. Like, we talked a lot about eating. We talked a little bit about flexibility in your life, but what about the other areas? Like, what do you feel is important as far as people's mindset, how they approach their day? I know you coach a lot on those aspects, so I want to touch a little bit on that as well.
Absolutely, I do. Well, one of the things, I have a group that I coach, and my group is it's a virtual group, and it's worldwide. The group is called Road to a New You. And what we do is we explore in community the things that make us who we are, that end up in many cases being our two-edged swords. You know how very often the thing that makes you charming and beautiful and wonderful and uniquely you is also the thing that shoots you in the foot. So for example, if I'm overly spontaneous, people love that and they think it's great and they're like, oh my gosh, you're always fun. But if you're overly spontaneous, you also may have a problem with productivity. Because you put any object and you're off and running after it.
Exactly.
We would explore those kinds of things. We explore, where does the feeling come from, and we've all had it at some point. You have gratitude and you're happy in your life, and you're appreciative for living in a first world country, for the life that you have, for whatever it is that you're happy about and grateful for. But you have this sensation of, is this all there is? There's something missing. There's a void in my life. There is a hole. What we do in that group is, in my group, is explore what that might be. And
that's awesome. I know there's a lot of people out there listening right now who are feeling that same way. And you come across people sometimes and like you ask them like, if you had a day when you didn't have to go to work and you had no responsibilities, like what would you do? And like so many people don't know. Like a lot of times we're not in touch with what really makes us happy and what really we're passionate about, because we're so busy with the day-to-day doing all the things. And so I think like really having someone to coach you through, what makes you, what fills you up, all those things, I think it can actually help you to have better health, have better, take care of yourself more. When you feel good about who you are.
Absolutely.
I think that's super important. And a lot of times we talk about, eating, sleeping, exercising, and we don't really talk about that emotional well-being piece. And so I think it's awesome that you're doing that.
The emotional well-being piece too, the part of it is having someone, what a coach does is it coaches a trusted other that takes the role that the friend really can't. And so today I had a coaching call with one of my clients who's actually international, and we were talking a little bit about why she does certain things. And it's really easy to see a connection. Someone who drinks too much, for example, you might say, well, they're numbing out. They're avoiding their life. They're not happy in their marriage. Their career sucks, and they're numbing out. But what we don't see is that people also numb out with overwork, or they numb out with too many social activities or too many things on their plate or that type of thing. And the problem is that kind of numbing out is rewarded by society. Oh, you're a workaholic. Great. You're overproductive. But what we're not seeing is that is the same addiction as alcoholism in a different package.
Yeah, allowing yourself to have that empty space where you can actually be with yourself. Sometimes that's hard for a lot of people. And, it doesn't seem like that would be hard, but sometimes it's the hardest thing. So I love that you're coaching people on that. So tell us a little bit about where we can find your show again, if you have a website, all those things, and then also a little bit about your free gift that you have for our audience.
You bet. Well, if you want to be in touch with me and if there's any questions that people have, visit fork-road.com. So that's fork or hyphen.
And I will put that link down, underneath this interview, so you guys will all just have to click on that for Sheree.
Great. And you'll laugh because now your viewers have had a chance to know me. So it won't surprise you that the URL I'm about to give you, and you'll want a pen for this because it's a long one, is whattheforkareyouvaitingfor.com.
That's awesome.
You can repeat that too. That's where the free gift for your viewers is, whattheforkareyouvaitingfor.com. And my free gift,
we're not swearing here. It's with the fork, F-O-R-K. For those of you who are listening and driving and saying, what are they saying? This is supposed to be a family show. It's what the fork are you waiting for?
Right, because my company's Fork in the Road. So, and what you'll receive is 3 videos that will be sent to you over the course of several days. The first video, ironically, and you didn't know this because it's about juicing.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that's so great. I'm so glad for that, because I know we only have a short amount of time because we want to, honor everybody's busy lifestyles. But I love that we're going to go more into that in your free gift, because it's super important and it's so misunderstood as well. So perfect.
Yes. Another video is about creating vision boards, which also speaks into what we've been talking about, is what is your purpose? What do you want? What is in your purview? What are you trying to manifest over the next period of time?
Awesome. A little arts and crafts activity. You can get the kids involved in that as well. I love it.
And then the third video is resources that I like. We're always, you're hearing, well, what's a good book for this? And what's a good video? So I give you my own personal advice and tips about some of the books and things that I like. And spoiler alert, they're not all new. Some of them were in publication before I was born.
Awesome.
So you'll want this gift. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I'll definitely check that out as well, because it's always, there's so much out there, and it's so great to have some recommendations for someone who actually knows what they're doing. So awesome. Thank you so much, Sheree, for being here. I just love everything you're about, and your humor and your down-to-earthness. So thank you so much for all that you do and for helping us to make the world a healthier place.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone. We will see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Hey there, it's Dr. Michelle, and I just wanted to commend you and thank you for spending a little bit of your day to do something empowering. I hope that you found value in today's content and that you'll go out and use this new information to improve your life, even in a small way. I want you to open up to the possibility of making today, this week, and this year the greatest possibility you've had so far to improve your life. This is about breaking out of old paradigms. It is about learning the act of living naturally. It's about honoring who you are and allowing all that is good into your life. I promise to continue to bring you educational, empowering, and inspiring content to help you achieve the body you dream about, but more importantly, help you live the life you deserve. Remember, all that you need, you already have. It's right here, in nature and within yourself. So stay tuned for some more value-packed interviews and be sure to check out all of the resources at glownaturalmedicine.com.